Tripping balls. That is what most people are doing. When you talk to them about legalizing psychedelics on any level, they have this misguided idea of psychedelics from old stories that you heard in the 1960s of people taking too much LSD and jumping out of windows. My name is Devin Burnett, and I'm here to persuade you today that psychedelics should be legalized for medicinal use. And my three reasons for that are: they are an effective cure for depression, they are an effective cure for substance abuse, and they are an effective cure for PTSD. This is medicine that makes sense. Now, before I move on to my main point, I do want to caveat this by saying that I am not for the recreational use of psychedelics, nor am I denying that if improperly used, they can take you to some scary places. Anyways, moving on to my first point, which is psychedelics and depression. 350 million people worldwide suffer from depression. That's about a 20th of the world's population, and 30 million more people than live in the United States. And this major solution to this is to be issued antidepressants, which are kind of a cover-up. They just give you a little bit more serotonin uptake and don't really help you overcome the issue. And they leave you with such side effects as a zombie-like feeling, weight gain, sexual dysfunction, and suicidal thoughts. So how are psychedelics a better option than this? Well, a study by Reidlinger and Reidlinger show that low doses of classical psychedelics, such as psilocybin, LSD, and mescaline, when given to patients, allow them to open up to the therapist, ease their minds so they can deal with the trauma, and allow their brains to build new pathways to fix the problem. And on top of that, Krebs and Paul Johansson have studied psychedelic use over the past few years, and with 135,000 random people have studied their health, studied their brains, and they have found that the classical psychedelics that I mentioned, such as LSD, psilocybin, and mescaline, have no adverse effects. They do nothing harmful to your brain, they do nothing harmful to your body, and they're non-addictive. And that's a lot better that can be said for antidepressants. Like I said, this is medicine that makes sense. Moving on to my second point, substance abuse. I'm going to give two examples. The first one is heroin. Heroin is a big issue in this part of the United States, and it is also a big issue everywhere. 5,927 people died in 2013 from heroin, and the number has been rising every year since. And that does not include people who are addicted and dying from prescription heroin like oxycodone, or who have turned to meth, the alternate for heroin when you can't afford it. Now, how are psychedelics going to fix this? Well, a study by Krupinski, Barakov, Romanova, Domyetsky, Strassman, and Grinecko have shown that when you give 70 clean heroin addicts 2 milligrams of ketamine over a 2-year course, these heroin addicts had no cravings and no reuse. That's pretty awesome. So just a couple doses of this drug and some psychotherapy, and we are fixing a huge issue. Now I'm going to talk about something that is legal but is a domestic issue, which is smoking. 480,000 people die of smoking or smoking-related illnesses every year. That's 10 times the population of Olympia. So, in a breaking study by Garcia, Romo, Griffiths, and Johnson, 15 smokers were given psilocybin or magic mushrooms in combination with psychotherapy, and then were let go of for a while. Well, 6 months later, they were biologically tested to see if they had smoked, and 12 of the 15 smokers had abstained and had their cravings reduced and didn't just have the urge to smoke anymore. But here's the interesting thing. They didn't relate it to the continuous use of psilocybin. They related it to the positive feelings that came from it. The way that their brain changed, the way that their thoughts changed with psychotherapy, the fact that they could open up and see that their addiction was killing them and that they had issues. Like I said, this is medicine that makes sense. And moving on to my third point, which is PTSD. MDMA, the rave drug, is 83% more effective with psychotherapy at reducing PTSD occurrence and intensity than just psychotherapy alone. Now the FDA, and this is what is exciting, has approved a plan for PTSD with the Miflower A, Wagner, Jerome, and Doblin. And these scientists are working together on a study to come up with a plan to give people who have PTSD the ability to legally use MDMA to help them if standard medicinal practices are not helping them. As a soldier who knows people that suffer from PTSD and aren't getting the treatment that they need, that is very exciting to me. As I said, this is medicine that makes sense. So if you've noticed that I've used a lot of foreign names in this study, it's because it's hard to get studies in the United States because these drugs are not legalized. So essentially our system is set up that you have to prove that these drugs don't cause any harm. But in order to get funding to do those studies, the drugs can't be illegal. So it puts you in this catch-22 where no research is really done in the United States because of the stigma of these drugs. You know, an example of this is marijuana, which just recently was just recently kept as a Schedule I drug, even though studies have shown that it fixes cancer and can stop seizures with epileptics. It still, according to our government, has no medicinal value because no studies can be done. Anyways, I hope that with the limited studies that I have shown you that psychedelics can be used effectively, can be a cure for depression, substance abuse, and PTSD. And once again, I'm not saying that these drugs should be used recreationally, and I'm not denying that if used improperly, they can take you to some scary places. The great Greek philosopher Herodotus said that healing is a matter of time, but it is also a matter of opportunity. I believe that we owe people this opportunity. Thank you very much.